What's going on, everybody? My name's Dez, the host of the Game Stage podcast, where we talk all things rock and metal, and I'm joined by Devin Williams of Witch Hunter. How are you?
Hey man, doing good. How are you?
Another day in music paradise. Is always something
Oh yeah.
interesting going on. Yeah. So I'm gonna jump straight into it. Tell me a little bit of history on Witch Hunter.
So Witch Hunter kind of got started where I was in a, I'm 37 years old and I've been doing this thing since I was like, I think I played my first show when I was like 14. Well, actually earlier than that, but we can get into that later. But so I've been in bands forever, and one of my good friends, he was a little younger than me, and he was kind of really into some of my old bands and stuff. And then, fast forward forever down the road, and he wound up actually living with me for a little while. It was a roommate of mine, and he was just kind of pestering me and like bugging me about starting a band with him. It was like, "Come on, man, start a band with me, start a band with me," And I had just gotten out of like a pretty, lengthy relationship, and I didn't really have any bands going on, so I was just like at home, single, with no bands. And so I was like, well, I mean, if I'm going to do it, I guess now's the time to. So I was like, sure, I'll start a band with you. And so me and my buddy Tyler Samples, so me and him, just was like, yeah, okay, we'll start a band, and that's pretty much where it came from. And then we just kind of roped in. When you've been doing it as long as I've been kind of doing this, you kind of have like a group of like usual suspects.
Yeah.
So just kind of started hitting some of the old homies up, like, "Hey man, I'm gonna do another band. You guys want in?" They're like, "Yeah, sure." And that's kind of how it happened.
Gotcha. Yeah, I know we played a show in my last band. It's been a couple years, and that was fun.
Yeah.
Being able to see you guys play, that was really fun. And what is your role in the band? Obviously, you play guitar in the band, but
Yeah.
are you? Do you do
My
more of the creative type stuff, or is it all a collaborative?
so my role in the band is kind of like it's kind of a joke in every band. That I'm in, like original band that I'm in, is like I'm kind of like the ship captain. It's kind of like my thing. I'm the
Yeah,
one that makes most of the decisions and calls most of the shots and stuff like that. And that's just kind of how it shakes out. That's just sort of my
yeah,
personality. I just have a very like, uh, you know, some musicians, they're like, hey, I play guitar, I play bass, and that's what I do, and that's all I do. And then maybe you can relate to this because I know like you
mm,
write songs and stuff too. But I have anytime I get into something creatively, I have like a huge kind of all encompassing vision of it.
yeah,
And so, I my friends are cool enough to just kind of like, for the most part, just let me run with it and kind of do my thing that I'm seeing how it all plays out and whatnot. And of course, like they help with songwriting and stuff, and they'll pitch ideas for like different things. And there is a roundtable discussion. They don't just leave me with like free reign
yeah,
over it completely. They kind of keep me in check. If I have a stupid idea, they're like, "Hey, man, that's a
yeah,
stupid idea. Let's not do that." Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as that. The Jared has our drummer. He's made the joke many times when asked, like, how does it all shake out? And he's like, yeah, it's a "oh captain, my captain" type thing. We follow
Yeah.
his lead, and I'm like, I don't know, I do whatever I got to do.
Yeah.
It's we're supposed to be all equal in the band, but when decisions come, everybody kind of looks at me. I'm like, don't look at me. We're all in
Yeah.
this together. So Witch Hunter has been around for quite a while,
Yeah,
and
it was kind of surprising to me. Like,
yeah,
not for any reason in particular. I can't believe it's been that long. I guess, like, yeah, but
um,
the pandemic kind of threw a big
sure,
wrench in a lot of that stuff. So,
yeah. So the reason I bring that up with you guys being around for a while, this is something that I discussed in my episode with Jack the Elbow. Like the state of the music scene, particularly in Birmingham. I don't
yeah,
know if you caught any of that, but with you guys being around for a while, um, what is your experience in the heavy scene, like starting out? Whenever Witch Hunter started up to now, where the scene is particularly dominated by hardcore type stuff.
yeah. So my experience in the kind of heavy scene is a little, maybe a little different from most people's, because I was in a band a long time ago called Geraldine,
Hmm.
and Geraldine was, I mean, as big as a local band would be, I guess, right? Like we were pretty big, you know. And so I think there's a lot of people still like remember me and like Brad and Jesse from that. And so there's kind of like I don't know, it sounds pretentious to say like a legacy kind of thing
Hmm.
there, but it's like, oh, well, these guys have been around a while. Like they were in this other band that was like kind of big for an Alabama metal band. And like, so there's always kind of that like thing around any other band we do because like Jesse and Brad are the homies and like we've been in like 3 or 4 different bands together, you know. So there's always kind of that like I think a lot of people still kind of look at it through that lens of like, oh, well, this is just kind of like Geraldine left over.
Sure.
So it's a little different. It's not like we're a new band no one's ever heard of and we just kind of came out of nowhere and we're like, hey, here we are. There's a lot of kind of like baggage that comes along with just us, I guess, like as a group of
Yeah.
people in a band. But as far as like it being dominated by like hardcore stuff, Geraldine was kind of like, you know, we were like real deathcore. You know,
Hmm.
this was back in like 2005, 6, 7, that whole era, like Whitechapel, Suicide Silence, just getting up off
Yeah.
the ground. So, and that was kind of like the big thing back then, and maybe that's why we were so prominent and why we kind of came out like we did. But as far as that hardcore thing, that was always there. Like even
Yeah.
in the beginning, there was always that underlining, like really like intense, like hardcore scene, even around all that other stuff. So it doesn't surprise me at all that the scene now is predominantly that
Hmm.
type of stuff. I like I saw it coming 100 miles away, but yeah, it didn't surprise me at all.
Hmm.
Which and that stuff's cool, and that stuff's having a big resurgence right now with bands like Knocked Loose and stuff like in the mainstream.
Hmm.
So I mean, it totally makes sense.
Yeah, the thing that we had discussed that I discussed with Jack the Elbow is if you're not a hardcore band in the Birmingham scene, it's really hard to quote unquote make it now.
It is.
You know
It is.
it
The scene's. I don't want to just like trash on the scene or anything like that, but like
right?
it does
Yeah,
have like a real gatekeepy vibe. Like it
it
kind of
does.
does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We in Malice Jackson, we had a hard time even booking shows down there
Yeah.
until like Danny Hammond's like he gave us a chance playing at True Story, and that kind of
Yeah.
got our foot in the door. But we were always on like a mixed bill type thing, and a mixed bill in Birmingham is like everything from like
Yeah.
country guys up to rock.
It's weird. I think that like as diverse as like the Birmingham scene wants to even be, I think is a band like us. Like because
Hmm.
we're still pretty heavy, you know, like we're
Yeah,
like metalcore. And I think that's like really as adventurous as they want to get. They're like they got their hardcore thing, and then they're like, oh, there's this metalcore band. Like it's adjacent enough, it's cool. But
yeah,
then like anything beyond that, they're just like, man, okay, not
yeah,
really.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you have to be heavy enough and have a certain amount of, a little bit of screams in there for them to be like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, okay, yeah.
But then that
Um,
we get put in these weird, like I say weird, they're not weird. I enjoy them a lot, but these interesting situations where like we'll get asked to play shows with bands like that,
mhm.
but then we'll play shows with bands where we are like by and far the heaviest band on the bill too. So we kind of are in like a neat middle area where
Yeah,
sometimes we're the least heavy band on the bill, and sometimes we're like by far the heaviest thing on the bill. So that's kind of neat. I enjoy that.
yeah. So would you say that y'all's sound has stayed the same from the creation of Witch Hunter, or has it evolved in any particular way?
Well, I will say that it kind of has evolved. Um, 2 reasons mainly. One, like our original drummer was my cousin Jacob, and Jacob's a great drummer, but he's never been like a metal drummer. And so when we first started the band, he was like, "Hey, I'll do it. I'd love to do it, but like I'm not very fluent with like a double kick pedal." And he's like, "I don't really even listen to a lot of metal." And so we were kind of going for more of a like raw vibe back then, like kind of like the Chariot type stuff,
Mhm.
and so he would just kind of really do what he could on drums and like improvise parts and like do these really creative things that would kind of give the feel or vibe of like a double kick thing when he was just using like a single kick pedal.
Mhm.
And we had another guitar player back then, like my buddy Tyler was also like writing and stuff. And so I felt like, we had a lot of different elements and it was kind of we were all trying to kind of figure each other out. And then when Jacob left, we got Brad to come in. And Brad has, he was in Geraldine with me. He was in Veda with me. And Brad is like a metal drummer. And so when Brad came in, we really started to kind of just lean more into like, well,
Sure.
now we're just going to be a metal band. And then when Samples wound up leaving as well, it just kind of, there was like a bit of a diversity in the songwriting. And now that he's gone and it's primarily just me, the songwriting has I feel like it's even shifted more toward like, it's a lot. When I say tighter, I don't mean like those guys were loose musicians. I don't mean that. I just mean like the songwriting has gotten a lot tighter. Like the songwriting process has gotten tighter.
Mm-hmm.
There's not as many cooks in the kitchen. There's not as many people. And you could look at that like a good thing or a bad thing. To me, it's just a thing. It's just, that's what's happened. Like, I'm writing the riffs. Everything's a lot more streamlined. And we've kind of just gone down that path of like things that are a lot more like metal.
Yeah.
And maybe not like as diverse, I guess, as it used to be. And again, that could be a good thing or a bad thing, but it just is what it is.
Yeah. Well, that seems to be a thing with a lot of bands is there's one primary songwriter, and then, like when a song is like 90% of the way there, everybody gets in the room and it's like, okay, yeah, let's change this or this. So I totally get that. That's how it is with us. Like I wrote a song 2 weekends ago and I brought everybody in. I'm like, okay, let's adjust parts and do what we need to do, and it's my songwriting process has changed a lot, where used to Jared and I would get in a room and we would just jam something and then, figure out what we wanted to do and have to remember all of it. And now he had brought up the other day, like, hey, let's just get in a room and jam again. I'm like, man, I can't write like that anymore. It is
same. It's so hard.
Yeah, like I have to be at my computer. I have to have my DAW open and plugged in. That way, if I come up with something really fucking cool, bam, it's recorded.
Right there.
Yeah, I don't have to remember, what little lick or run I did. It's just right there, and I can figure it out. So it's our songwriting has evolved a lot just with like the advent. I don't want to say the advent of modern technology, but even studio and recording technology has come a long way.
Oh yeah.
And how do you guys use that, if at all, in your new songwriting process?
So, but a lot like how you pretty much just like how you do. Like I sit in front of my computer, I've got my DAW open, and I use plugins and stuff, and I'm writing a lot there. But before kind of now, the process was a lot different. Like me and Tyler would sit in a room together and we would like bang out riffs, and he would write stuff and I would write stuff, and we would try to figure out how to mash it together and whatnot. And we were just letting everybody else like totally kind of free form their parts into it as well. And like, it was a much more like disorganized way of songwriting, but I feel like, it did lead to some like super creative stuff. And I guess sometimes when we're feeling like a little stale now, we'll try and do that again. Like, hey, you know what? We've written like 3 or 4 songs, or I've written like 3 or 4 songs, and Brad or Jesse will be like, they're all kind of just starting to sound like, there's a formula here. It's just this, and this. I'm like, all right, cool. Let's get in a room. Let's pick a couple parts from each song that we like, maybe, and let's try and bang it out like old school style. And let's see if we come up with anything different. So like we're not like hard locked into it, but I would say that like probably 75 to 80% of the time, it's just like me sitting in front of my computer writing like that with a DAW open.
Yeah. So what, just curious from the producer side of stuff, what DAW do you use?
I'm using Reaper.
Okay. I was a Reaper guy for a long time. I started in middle school with Reaper. And then here in the last 2 years, I have swapped over to Logic just because I'm a Mac user. That has changed so much of my workflow.
Really? So
yeah,
that's interesting because I have a PC, and I've had a PC for like the past 5 years. And up until that point, I was like dyed in the wool a Mac guy. And I've kind of been wanting to go back to a Mac because I don't like the PC a whole lot. Like everything else I have, like I have an iPad, I've got an iPhone.
Yep.
I love the Mac ecosystem, and the only reason I bought a PC was because I was like gonna start getting into like gaming and stuff.
Yeah.
And like I kind of did for a minute, and then I like didn't, and now I just have this PC. And like it's a good computer, but I'm just way more comfortable on the Mac stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about making that switch again.
Yeah, I bought a M1 Mac Mini, and it's got 16 gigs of RAM, and it does
Yeah.
everything I need it to. And I
Okay.
ran Reaper on this for a little while, and then I finally was like, you know what? Let's swap up the process a little bit, see if things change. And it has changed everything for me. And we were even using Reaper Live to run our backing tracks and click tracks and stuff. And now, because I've got Logic on this and my laptop, all of my files are just saved in the iCloud, and I could download it immediately. There's no having to swap files or anything. It's so much easier.
So we do a really kind of like meathead thing for our backing tracks, like the way we run our backing tracks live. It's so funny. Like we mix everything down, and we have like an old iPhone 7 that used to be our drummers, and it's just like we deleted everything off of it, and we just have all of the backing tracks like as like a WAV files saved to that. And the only reason we went that route was like, for one, I didn't have a laptop at the time, so I was like, well, we'll just do it this way. And so we kind of had to go back and forth. We would do the tracks and then listen to them, and we'd be like, oh, this is too loud, or this. So there was a lot on the front end where we had to like balance the tracks out and like really dial them in. But that phone like never crashes live. So we've like never had a problem where like a computer would go down or freeze up or something like that. Like the phone just doesn't ever have a problem. So that's been like kind of a benefit I didn't think we would have from it, but just like not having to deal with it crashing ever. Like it's just good to go all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't had any issues with our MacBook, but my last one, the battery was just shot, so we had to keep it plugged in at all times. And now I'm using it's an M1 MacBook Air, actually, so it's got a little less power than the Pro, but still no issues out of it. Plug it straight into our rig, and it's good to go. And
I would like to eventually. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
off. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I would eventually like to just make the jump to using a laptop live, though, for real. Like it gives you more options.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we plan on we actually have some lights already, but we are going to run a full light show using Logic also. You could control like different LED lights with MIDI. So, Jared, he's got this thing where he's like, I want to sit down and come up with this full light show that matches everything, with the songs.
That would be sick.
Yeah, and you can get super cheap lights off like AliExpress and stuff, like $20-$30. So that's what we're using now, and it looks okay. But having that full control of being able to adjust, like running a full light show at like a big gig,
Yeah.
But what I was going to say earlier though is I know you are on the opposite end of the spectrum of this, but we actually use plugins live. So I use Archetype Nolly, and our bassist uses Parallax. So we have no amps or anything. It's running straight through our laptop and into our X32. So we run in-ears, and then it goes to front of house. And I know you are tube amp type guy, get up there with the – unless that's changed.
That's so funny you bring that up. I have been using a quad Cortex.
Really?
I'm just all QC now. Like, yeah. So we had a show. So we wanted, we started doing the backing track stuff. And so, as you know, like you have to play with a click track. And it was just taking too much time for us to set up our in-ear rig, set up my Marshall stacks and Jesse's Ampeg bass rig and all this stuff. So we kind of made the decision to just like go all in on like the in-ear thing. And we got like a Behringer XR 18 and a splitter snake and in-ear systems and stuff. And we went, I was using a head rush for a long time. Like I had an MX5, and then I got the new one, the Flex, I think.
The
Flex Prime or something like that.
Yeah.
And those were cool, but I just wanted a lot more functionality. So I just went quad Cortex eventually. And Jesse still uses like a real amp live, but he's got his bass amp is rack mounted. He's got like an Ampeg SVT7 Pro, and it's like it's in the rack. And then he's got like a GK212 cab. And I'm using like one of those Head Rush FRFR speakers. It's like a 2,500 watt FRFR speaker. And like, we haven't played a venue where that didn't cut it. You know what I mean? Like, and I do a lot of cover band stuff too, and so like a lot of these cover band gigs, it's just like guitar and pedal board, and I don't even have to worry about like, I love the Marshalls, man, and I'm like, I always will, but I'm getting old, and the time you have to like set up at shows is getting shorter, and it just seems like people want you to take up less space, take up less time, not be as loud, and it's just kind of the way to go these days.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen these videos, but like the rig rundowns, like used to early 2000s, 2010, stuff like that. Everybody's rig was like completely unique, like playing modified amps and stuff. And now it's all quad cortex or helixes.
The one, like my biggest gripe with modern stuff was like the death of the guitar rig rundown video. I don't even care about like the tones and stuff. It's just like all the rig rundown videos are just boring as hell now. It's like Axe effects, cool. Quad cortex, cool. Temper, cool. Like that's just they're all like 5 minutes long. It's like, here's my 4 guitars and there's a quad cortex. Thanks for coming. Like,
yeah. And it really was the death of cool rigs, because now somebody gets a quad cortex, goes and buys some cool patches, does slide adjustments, and there's their rig. And it makes sense though, because like you were saying, at a live show, you're getting less and less time to set up. And it's also just convenient. Instead of having to lug around a huge, massive 7 million pound amp head and a 4x12.
I was carrying 2 Marshall 412s and 2 100-watt Marshall heads to shows. It's like, that's insane. That's crazy, and even on like the sound, like the engineering sound aspect of things, it's like, being a sound guy, like if I showed up to a gig with like a 32 channel board and a huge snake, like the venues would be pissed, man. I've got like a little, wireless mixer in a like 6-space rack and an iPad, and I can run a whole show that way. And it's like, it's just, times are changing, man. It just is what it is,
Yeah. It's the big thing, I think, is its convenience, just because it's, when you're a touring band, like you don't want to have to deal with, like, let's say you're running like a 70s model Marshall or something, right? And something horrific happens and your amp goes down. Now what are you going to do? If that's the prime part of your tone.
Situation. I've been there, man. We were, my old band Veda was opening up for Periphery. I think it's, we were opening up for Periphery at Zydeco. And like our guitar player amp just like didn't turn on. We were sound checking. It's like click, nothing. He had like a 6505 and it just was like, and the sound, everybody's looking at us like, hey man, and we're like, had to go ask one of the other bands if we could borrow their amp. I'm like, oh my God, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
and now it's the technology has gotten so good that the possibility of a meltdown, like catastrophic meltdown, is slim to none. Like even if your computer crashes, rebooting is usually good, and worst case scenario, like I don't know if a quad cortex could do it, but when I was running my Helix, I could run a guitar and bass rig through my Helix. In worst case scenario. Okay, so worst case scenario, run everybody through one, So it's real neat to see that, like, everybody used to have a really unique rig, and now it's going to all simple, but you have to now. You have to evolve or you're going to get left behind. And it sucks on one hand, but on the other, it's necessary. And I know I'm not going to point out anybody or say any particular names here, but there are some in the scene that are analog till they die. And it will not be any other way. And I
was one of those people, man. I was that guy. Like, that was me for real. I was just like, bury me with my Marshalls, But like, it said, it's like, there's always going to be bands. There's 1,000 bands that want to play a show, and I've seen this too. I don't know if you've seen this. A lot of like, I was watching a video the other day where this guy was talking about like, playing shows at like casinos and like cruise ships, like the cover band stuff. And a lot of places are even now having rules where like they're like no amps in the, no amps on the cruise ship, the casino, the club, whatever. They're like ampless all around. And it's like, if you are like, no, we're going to bring our amps, guess what? There's like 40 other bands that want that gig.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they have no problem just being like, okay, fine, bye, like next. And then some other band will get that gig. So it's like, you know, what do you want to do? Like,
yeah. And realistically, like 99% of people are not going to be able to tell a difference in the sound. When you're in the crowd in front of the speakers, you know, because the speakers are going to make up the majority of the sound. You know, you can make your quad cortex or helix preset sound exactly how you want it. And you could stack it up with like a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier, and the common person is not going to be able to tell a difference, if at all.
Yeah.
So, speaking of shows and stuff, what is the weirdest or most memorable show, whether it be a good thing or a bad thing?
Okay, you know how many people have had me I had asked me this question before, and I don't even know. Like, I guess I have to now because I'm just like, I don't even know if I should talk about this, but like, I guess I have to now because I brought it up. So we played this show one time in Tennessee when I was in Maryland, and I didn't book it. I think our old singer booked it. I don't know how he found it, and we show up to this club, and it was legit like neo-Nazis.
Oh no.
Like straight up like neo-Nazis. And I was like, this is crazy. And so we were like, okay, let's just leave. You know, like let's like fuck this, let's just leave. Right. And so they were like, well, man, you know, we're all the way out. We were like, I don't know how deep in Tennessee we were. And it was like, look, we need some money, you know, like we don't have any money. Like, let's just play the gig and then dip. Like, just play, get paid, dip. And it was like, you know, we voted on it. I got outvoted. Was like, all right, cool. This is what we're doing. And so like we played, and I guess it went as good as it could go. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, cool. Like they didn't kill us or anything. But what really made it funny, the funny part of it is like, so we get done and we're like, all right, we're gonna dip. And we go up to, I guess, who like the dude in charge is, and we're like, hey, you know, can we get paid? And he like points up like this, and we're like looking at the ceiling, like, what do you mean? And he's like, I can't remember the guy's name. He was like, you know, so and so is up on the roof. And I'm like, up on the roof? What are you talking about? And so he's like, go out the back door, and there's a ladder, and go up on the roof. And I was like, absolutely not. This is insane. So me and our other guitar player, we decide, okay, we'll climb the ladder. So we go and climb up the ladder, and there's this guy sitting up there in a chair with like a cooler full of beer. And I hadn't seen this dude the whole night. So like he'd been up here for like 5 hours or something, you know what I mean? Just by himself. And he's like, oh yeah, man. Okay. I'll come down there and pay you guys in a minute. No worries. I'm like, okay. And so we climb back down, and we're like waiting for this dude to come down. And, the front of the crowd is cleared out now, and there were like way more people at this show than should have been at this show.
Yeah.
Right. Like, yeah. And so the crowd is gone, and the door opens, and this black guy comes in. And so we're all like, because there's still a bunch of like the people that booked the show, you know, the neo-Nazi guys, like they're all there. And we're like, and this dude walks up to one of them. He's like, hey man, how's it going? And they like shake hands. And I'm like, this is wild. And then the black dude is like, hey, y'all got my money? And they're like, yeah. And so they pull out a big wad of money, and they give it to this dude. And he's like, good doing business with you. And then he starts to leave. And I was like, it was like eating me up. I was like, I got to know what's going on. So I like run outside after this guy, and I'm like, hey man, what's the deal here? And he was like, hey man, the only color I care about is green, and money's green, and they got money. So you know what? They want to have these shows. I'll let them do it. And I was like, okay, man. And then we got paid. The guy came in there and he paid us. And I was like, dude, get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild. I could not imagine.
That was a pretty wild one.
The closest we've ever had to something similar to that is, have you ever played at Boogie Bottoms?
I have not.
I'm sure you're familiar with
I've heard
Boogie
it.
Bottoms.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got invited out there to play for a benefit rally for a little girl that was hit by a bus. It was a couple years ago. And we went out there, and it started to rain. They had a bunch of bikes and like merch trailers and stuff, and they were doing some like event to see whose bike was the loudest.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, let's go check out some of the tents. And I walked in, and it was just all like Nazi flags and memorabilia and stuff. I'm like, oh no, this is not cool. I'm like, yeah, let's just let's play and never again.
Was it like no, it's World War II history?
No, it was like
that.
It still had
Yeah.
made in China and like creases on it, like it had just got unfolded from the package. So yeah.
Man, that's wild.
Yeah,
just selling it at the biker rally.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, we take Venmo, dog. Like,
yeah, there's probably an overlap of those type of people and the people that came to y'all's show at the neo, all the neo.
I would imagine, yeah.
So I know we had talked about you before we started the podcast that you work for Cremona Guitars.
Yes.
What is your role there?
So I'm going to backtrack just a little bit there.
Sure.
Like, I've worked for the Howard Core Company. I've been working for the Howard Core Company since 2009. So like 16 years.
Mm-hmm.
And Howard Core Company imports and distributes like classical string instruments like violins, violas, cellos, bass, upright basses. And, we do a lot of business with like big retail music store chains and stuff like that. And so a couple of years ago, my boss was, he's just looking to diversify the company, right? And he's like, I'm going to buy this, well, not buy, but like buy the distribution rights for like this guitar company. It's like, okay, cool. And so he kind of put me in charge of like the quality inspection process and, just kind of like managing and handling the stuff when it comes in. So like all the guitars are hand built in Bulgaria at the Cremona workshop there. And they get shipped here to our facility. And then, we have sales reps that take the orders and stuff. And I'll pull the guitars and do like a quality inspection process, make sure, they don't need any work or anything like that. And if they do, then I'll, I'm a certified tech, so I'll make sure that they're all good to go. And then, ship them out to retail stores and, online distributors and stuff like that.
That's neat. And it's, I'm assuming it's like acoustic type stuff.
Yes. It's Cremona's all classical guitars, steel string acoustics. Yeah.
Yeah, that's neat. And I know just from being friends on Facebook with you that I've seen that you've worked there, but had I not, I don't know that I would have ever heard of that brand.
Yeah. Which is weird because Cremona's been around like for about 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
And like we just came out with our 100th anniversary model guitar, which is kind of wild, but like, yeah, it's a small brand. And, the classical guitar business is kind of, niche anyway. So it's kind of a small business, kind of a small operation, but the people that are into that stuff are like really into it.
Sure.
Though, so it has its following for sure.
Yeah. And you've probably seen him. Rob Scallon has done videos like where he's went and like met with some people that play like classic guitars or classical guitars. And those are really neat to see because those guys could close their eyes and pick up one and be like, oh yeah, this is a $500 guitar, or this is a $10,000 guitar. That's wild to me.
Yeah.
Because like, if you took a $500 guitar off the shelf today and compared it to a $3,000 guitar from like the 90s, they're probably going to feel identical.
Yeah.
But those guys somehow are really good at what they do.
When you've handled that many guitars, like, I've probably handled hundreds of thousands of guitars or something, you know what I mean, in my lifetime. Like, and so you just kind of like learn, like I can pick a guitar up and be like, oh, I immediately feel, this has an issue here. This is like this, or like, or even so, like I'll pick a guitar up and be like, oh, this is polyurethane, or pick another guitar and be like, oh, this is nitrocellulose. Like I can just feel that it's different, but
sure.
Unless that's the kind of business you're in, unless you just do that all the time, like it's not a thing that most people would even understand or like be able to pick up on. Yeah. Yeah.
And I know you're a massive Gibson fan, obviously by the shirt and all that's hanging on the wall there.
The wall of Les Pauls behind me. Yeah.
Is that
There's one Telecaster? There's one.
Yeah,
Telecaster.
Just one.
Just one.
So is that?
It's
is
got
that
two humbuckers. I put humbuckers in it, so it doesn't.
That's all that matters. Yeah. So is that a Epiphone or a Gibson Adam Jones in the back there?
That is neither. That is a custom shop Murphy Lab 2023 Silverburst.
You had a
Yeah.
Adam Jones at one point, though,
did.
correct? Okay,
Yeah,
that's why I was asking. Yeah,
yeah. I had the 1979 Adam Jones Epiphone, the one with the Gibson headstock, and it was such a sick guitar that I was like, well, I'm just gonna go buy Murphy Lab now,
Yeah.
and so that's what I did.
yeah.
And then I
makes
sold
sense.
that guitar to a buddy of mine, that Epiphone.
So I actually bought a Chibson a little while ago because it popped up on my eBay. It was like $200. I'm like, you
Yeah.
know what? Let's buy one. And I shit you not, this guitar came in. I unpackaged it. I picked it up. It was in tune. Surprisingly, it shipped from somewhere in the U.S. I could not find any flaws in the finish. The frets were rounded. They didn't have fret nibs like an actual Gibson, so that's dead giveaway. It's not a real Gibson. But it played better than any Epiphone that I've ever picked up, which was wild to me.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you've ever played real Gibsons before, you could tell the difference from a counterfeit and a real one.
Well,
and
I've had Chibsons before too,
Mhm.
and I've had some. I had a Chibson. It was like a burst, and somebody had put like 59 Duncans in it, and that guitar was great. It played awesome. And then I've had other ones where like the truss rod didn't even work and the frets were falling out. So that's my only thing with the chips and stuff. It's like it's kind of a wash. It's kind of hit or miss. Like.
Yeah, it's you get what you pay for. If you're paying $200, you're either going to get something that's going to blow your mind or something that's going to go immediately in the dumpster.
Yeah,
yeah. And I enjoyed it, but I've got so many like sitting on my rack right now. I just gave it to a friend. I'm like, look, you've been dying for a Les Paul. Here's a fake one. go do your thing with it. I know I'd ask you earlier about worst case or like playing horrible shows or weird moments. Give me some moments where you've had to fix your own gear mid-set.
Oh, God. Fix my own gear mid-set. So nothing really comes to mind. Like the one thing that really comes to mind was my pedal board died on me in the middle of a show one time. And so like it was when I was in Maryland, and we had this song where like everything dropped out and it was just me playing a guitar part all by myself, And so we get to that part, and everybody drops out, boom, and I go to play the lick all by myself, and it's just dead silence. And there's like 200 people, and they're all looking at me, and it's just like, you can barely hear my pedal board's just gone, right? And so I took my guitar off, and I just threw it against the wall, and like just screamed. I was just like, "Fuck!" And our drummer, like, best timing ever. Like when I did that, he went bop, and everybody came back in like on the part. And so like I just like grabbed a microphone and like stage dove off into the crowd, and like a big pit broke out, and was like, all right, cool, I saved it,
That's awesome.
I got back up on stage, and I went and picked my guitar up, and I went to tune it. And when I went to tune it, I felt like something felt weird. Like the whole headstock was moving. And then when I looked, the whole headstock was moving. It had like broke, and it was like ESP Stephen Carpenter 7-string, and like the whole headstock was cracked in half, and it was just like, ooh, and I was like, oh, that's great. So I grabbed my backup. I had a backup guitar with me. I grabbed it and played the rest of the set, but I had to glue the headstock back on and fix that guy the next day. That was pretty crappy. I hated that.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually started playing with 7 strings again, and I have this one. It's a Chapman.
Oh yeah.
It's the ML. They changed the name. It used to be an ML7, but now it's an ML17.
Yeah.
And Chapman has gotten a lot of shit over the years just because they're like, oh, the quality control's ass, or Rob Chapman's an ass. And I'm like, it's a great guitar. Like, I love it. It stays in tune. It's phenomenal. And I don't know Rob Chapman. I can't call him a fucking dick. That's not. Yeah, I mean, that's not my place.
I watch his YouTube videos, but like I don't know him as a person. So I'm like, oh, maybe he is a shithead. Maybe he's a really cool dude. I don't know. Like,
and that I got into the 7-string world, and we started writing some, like, one of our songs is in drop G, the other's in drop A. We've got one right now. It's in drop F, but we don't know if we're going to keep that. And then our new stuff is in like drop C, drop D, and then I swapped to using this for those. And I don't know if you saw my post about this one.
Oh, hell yeah.
So this is one of the prototypes that Schecter did before they actually released the model.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Where'd you find that at?
Guitar Center for $300, and it came
yeah,
with
dude.
the hard case.
That's awesome.
So there's only 50 of the white ones worldwide.
Yeah.
That's it.
Doesn't Fluff have one of those?
He does. That's one of the
Yeah,
reasons I
yeah.
bought it, because I've watched him like way back in the early days before he even really talked on camera. And I know
Yeah.
that was one he had. And then over the years, I'm like, that is one of my holy grail guitars. I'm like, but I don't
That's
know if
pretty
I'll
dope.
ever get one. And then I just happened to look on Guitar Center, and they had posted it like 2 days before, and it was $300. And I called my wife. I'm like, I don't care. I'm buying it.
I'm buying this right now.
Consider it my birthday present. And I was worried that it wouldn't have the case with it. And I went to Guitar Center to pick it up, and the guy brought out a massive ass box. I'm like, fucking score. I got it.
Yes, dude.
It's everything I wanted. It's a phenomenal guitar. Whoever had it loved it dearly because it is beat to hell and back, but
That's awesome.
Yeah, it adds character. And that kind of gets into one of the other questions I had for you. With you working around guitars, what is your opinion on artificially reliced guitars?
My opinion on artificially wrote guitars is that I absolutely love them, which is, I guess, controversial. I mean, so the Silverburst Custom, like I said, it's a Murphy Lab. I think it's like a heavy relic. It's not like the ultra heavy, but it's when you get it up close, like it's got a bunch of checking and stuff and everything. And
yeah,
I love it, man. And part of the reason I love it is because, one, like the feel, like it just feels better. Like this white Les Paul I have right here is an actual 1987 Les Paul Custom. And you can see it's like almost the same color as my wall is. It's like totally, that guitar brand new was like Alpine white.
Yeah.
And it's totally yellowed out. Like all the clear coat's gone off the back of the neck. So the neck is actually white because all the clear coat's gone. And like that, the fingerboard edges are so rolled over, and like it's just such a comfortable guitar to play. And that's a thing I think a lot of people don't understand about like the relicking thing, is they do all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, it's not just like the checking and stuff and the aging. They do all of that kind of stuff too. And the guitar just feels really nice. But I just think it looks cool, man. Yeah. And a lot of people have that argument like, well, you should earn it. And it's like, well, but not everybody is like a touring a musician. I mean, unless you're playing 200 shows a year on a guitar, like it's not going to do that. Like it's just not, So, and it's like, well, I'm almost 40 now. And so I'm either going to have to buy an actual like 79 or 80 Silverburst, which costs 10, 12 grand, or for like half the price, you can get one of these and it'll have that look and that feel and stuff. You know? So it's like, man, and I've done my touring and stuff over the years, and like, I'm not going to go on the road again and wear out like a brand new Les Paul to get that look and that age to it. So it's like, I'll just buy Murphy Lab, man. Like they're cool.
Yeah.
I like them. They look good. They feel good. Like that's my take on it,
and those people that say it should be earned, or they're like, just go buy a real one, like what's the point in buying a real one that's had that actual age, like you were saying?
You didn't earn that either. You didn't do it.
Yeah. So just buy one that's pre-relic. It's like you said, half the price. It's fine. And that's one reason I love that one so much, is it's already had a lot of that wear put in it. And at some point I'm going to have to replace the frets, because good Lord, there's certain parts where you could tell that it needs it. So probably going to send it off to Sweetwater and have it plecked. So you not only play in a band and work with guitars, you are on the other side of it too, where you run sound for shows. When you're like behind the board, what are some big mistakes that you see bands make?
Big mistakes I see bands make. I guess the one thing would be like microphone discipline, like for vocalists, is such a crazy thing. Like, I hate this, and I don't know why singers want to do this. They'll go for their big high note, and they'll be like singing, and then it's whoa, and they pull back from the microphone so far, and it's like, well, now no one heard your big belt note that you were trying to hit, and it's like I get it that you don't want to like blow out the mic and like whatever, but like you don't have to pull away like 6 feet from the microphone, like just a little bit. It goes a long way. And with modern technology and compression on the board and stuff like that, and limiters and stuff like that. It's like you're not going to blow it out as hard as you think you are. Like pull back 2 or 3 inches maybe and hit your note, and like it's good. Don't do this big thing like this and then no one can hear you. And I see so many singers do that, and it just like,
Yeah. So with you being a sound guy, does that make you more aware and picky of how your own stuff sounds when you're playing live?
Yes. God, yes. It's horrible. It's amazing I can even get through a show like without tweaking everything to death. Like I'm so anal retentive about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I don't necessarily run sound, but like having produced stuff and making sure levels are right. Like I can be out in a crowd and hear like, yeah, they probably should have dropped the guitars here. The bass needs to like be way up. And I'm not digging at anybody that was running sound last night, but you could tell that there was an inexperience with running live sound.
Yeah.
And that's something I see happen quite a bit, where people will be like, yeah, I could run sound. And then they show up and then they have no fucking clue what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're like, we could mic this up and just turn everything up until it sounds good. And
one of the things people don't think about with sound guys is genre specification is actually a really big thing for sound guys.
Sure.
Like there are sound guys that are really good at running sound for like country artists or pop artists or hip hop artists or metal artists.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have an understanding of like what that genre is wanting out of their sound, like I've seen so many festivals and stuff where it's like my wife will be like, anytime we go to like a festival or a show, she'll be like, okay, so what's wrong with the sound guy? And I'm like, he's a country sound guy and this is a death metal band and he has no idea what's going on. Like I can tell he's a country sound guy because like the guitars will be like really pulled back in the mix, the bass will be too loud, the vocals will be like on top of everything, and I'm like, that's a country mix. Like I can just tell. I'm like, that's a country mix. Like that's not a hardcore band mix. Like and so that's a real thing with sound guys. If you're hiring a sound guy, you need a sound guy that either specifies in the particular thing you're trying to do, or is diverse. Like a sound guy that has a good palette. He understands like, oh, this is a hip hop artist. I know what they want out of a live mix. This is a progressive metal band. I know what they want out of a live mix. Like, and that can be a very difficult thing to do. And I see a lot of sound guys in situations where it's like, they might be a good sound guy in the context that they're good in, but they're totally out of their element with like whatever it is that's in front of them, and they have no idea how to handle it.
Yeah, and this show last night, it was a legitimate mixed bill.
And that can be tough. That can be tough for sound guys,
because there was, like just like Southern rock band, there was acoustic acts, there was a rapper, and then there was us, playing like hard rock and metal. So like that is a very diverse crowd, and you have to do so many things on the fly, and it's not just a set it and forget it type thing. And I know I'd ask you horror stories from the band side. Now give me a horror story from the sound guy side.
Horror story from the sound guy perspective would be like, I don't know, I don't really have like an actual awful like horror story, I guess. It's just, I mean, yeah, there have been bands that were just like terrible. Like they're just a bad band. And I mean, there's just like nothing I can do about that. I'm like, the drummer can't play in time, the singer can't sing, the guitar player's got one riff, like it's that meme, right? Like, and it's just like, well,
and you can't fix that in post.
Yeah, it's like, here I am, like, so I'm just gonna set the mix and go to the bar and like call it a day, whatever,
Yeah.
But most of the like horror stories I run into or whatever, it's just people like forgetting shit. Like I had a band, so I'm not gonna name names, but like I had a band like hit me up, hey, are you running sound at this club tonight? And I'm like, yes, I am. And I'm like, so the club I run sound at, they have a really nice board. They got a big Behringer X32, and they got a really nice system, but they have nothing else. They don't provide any like stage microphones or stands or cabling or nothing. It's like you need to bring the stuff you need to run the show, as far as like drum mics and cables and stuff like that goes, right? And so this band's like, hey, we have all this stuff. We've got everything. And I'm like, great. That means all I have to bring with me is I have a little Wi-Fi router
Mm.
and my iPad, and I'll like plug my iPad, I'll plug the router into the board and my iPad, and I'll walk around the bar and run sound great. That's all I got to bring. And something in me was like, dude, just grab your gig box. Like I have a gig box that just has like a bunch of shit in it that I might need for any given show, you know. And something in me was like, just take your gig box. Just throw it in the back of the truck, take it. If you don't need it, it doesn't matter. So I was like, fine. So I grabbed the gig box, throw it in the back of the truck, and I drive down there. And the band is setting up. And as soon as I walk in the door, they're like, dude, we forgot all of our shit. And I'm like, everything? And they're like, everything that's not an instrument, we forgot. Like
the little voice saved you.
Like I have an amp and a guitar. Like that's all I've got. And I'm like, and I was like, all right, I'm never leaving the gig box at home. Never. I'll take it everywhere with me. Like, fine. Like,
so we're coming up on the last couple of questions, and I probably know the answer to this one, just being friends on Facebook. But what's a guilty pleasure artist you love but don't always admit?
Oh, don't always admit. So like I was gonna answers like Taylor Swift. Like everybody knows I'm a huge Taylor Swift fan. I love Taylor Swift. But that I don't always admit. Ooh, that's a good one. I don't know. Like I don't mean to cop out on it, but like I'm pretty open about my guilty pleasures and stuff. Like Taylor Swift. I like a lot of pop stuff, man. Like I've been listening to a lot of Sabrina Carpenter lately and stuff like that. Like I like some girly pop.
Yeah, and that's okay. You know, just turn it on. You could turn your brain off for a little bit and just jam out.
Well,
and
I'm listening to it for a few reasons. Like one, it's like I'm studying like the production techniques. I'm like, okay, like I'm interested in that style of production because it's very different than what like me and you do. So
yeah,
I like listening to it and being like, oh, okay, that's why they did this here, they did that here in the production. Like, so I'm actually trying to get something out of it, but I do just enjoy it too. So
yeah, that's totally understandable too. Because I feel like if you get into this mindset of like, this is all I listen to, you're putting yourself into a box and it's bad for you because you're really
100%.
limiting yourself in, you know, what you're hearing, the techniques you learn and stuff like that. And that goes from everything from writing to the production side of it. You know, like when I was in school, I think my senior year, it was music appreciation class with our band director. And, you know, being a high school kid with a Line 6 Spider and, you know, a Epiphone Les Paul, all I wanted to play was metal. And I was just riffing, and he came and stood over my shoulder, and he's like, is that all you're ever going to play? That's all he said. And it just kind of sunk in with me. I'm like, that is a very fair question. And like from there, I started to branch out. So whoever's listening to this, don't put yourself in a fucking box. Just stupid. Branch out.
I had a similar experience, and I had a guy, older guy, musician that's in some bands around here, and he came up to me one day at a show, and he was like in kind of a condescending, like boomer way, but like it stuck with me though. He was like, "You're such a better musician than all this like chuggy like metal bullshit that you do all the time." And I was like kind of offended at first, but like it didn't leave my brain though. And I was like, you know, like I know he didn't maybe necessarily mean it as like a compliment, but like you're right. Like I there's no reason for me not to be like a student of the craft of musicianship. Like
sure.
And I think if you just want to be like a hardcore guy or a metalhead or whatever, like there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. Like if that's what you want to be, then that's fine. But I realized after that interaction that like that wasn't all I wanted to be. Like I wanted to be a student of like music craft in general, like not just guitar, but like songwriting and engineering and production. And I wanted to just really be into it, you know?
Sure. Yeah, we're coming up on the last couple of questions here, and this one, and I don't know if you saw my other two episodes, but I have a thing where the previous guest on the podcast comes up with a question for the next guest.
Oh, God.
So this question is from Will of Earshot.
Okay.
He wants to know, how do you handle writer's block when you get to it, and how often you experience it?
I experience writer's block like all the fucking time, man. Like every other day, I'm like stuck on riffs. The way I get away from it, I don't know. Can you hear that? Can you hear my cat like freaking out?
I can't. Yeah.
I locked her out of here, and she's very angry about that. So the way that I get through the writer's block thing is I just walk away from it. I just like save the project, turn the computer off, and go play Call of Duty. Like I just completely remove myself from anything music related. And I will if I do listen to music, it won't be anything remotely close to the genre of music I'm writing. Like I'll go listen to Taylor Swift or Wu-Tang Clan or like, you know, Brad Paisley or something. Like I'll listen to some country music or something like, and I will just totally check out for however long it takes, a day, a week, whatever it is. And then I'll consult the homies. Like I'll wait till we get in with a practice, and I'll sit down with Jesse and Seth and Brad, and I'll be like, here's the riff. I'm 50% done with it. Do you guys have anything? Like, can you add to it? You know, and I'll just kind of hit the reset button and take it from ground zero and see if somebody else can do something with it, and if I have any new ideas after walking away from it for a while.
Gotcha. That's pretty smart way to go about it, because some people will just continue to hit it over and over.
I've tried to just like bang through it route, you know, and I was never happy with what I came up with.
Yeah, because a lot of the times it's really phoned in, because your brain's like, well, I need to finish this, and it just, you know, you try to do the first things that come to mind, and it doesn't always work out. So on the flip side of that, the next guest I'm having on, and it'll be the first time I do a live interview. I'm going to interview Jesse Priest, which I'm sure you're familiar with him.
That name's very familiar.
He is from the Coleman area. He does more like country type stuff.
Okay.
He is going to be opening Rock the South this year, which is nice. Really cool.
Awesome.
So he does, like I said, more like country type stuff. So you get to come up with a question to ask for him, and it could be anything. It doesn't have to be music related.
I guess my question. So I played briefly with like a country dude for a while, and I guess my question would be like, for like a country musician would be like, how, because I know I get stuck in kind of like the metal thing where I just feel like I'm recycling riffs and I mean, it's metal and it's like, how far can you go with it, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always wondered from a country music perspective, like how do you keep it fresh? Like how do you keep your songwriting process fresh to where you don't feel like, because I mean, let's be real, like a lot of country stuff can get super recycled and like derivative. And so like, how do you kind of keep that from happening in the context of like writing country stuff? Because I'm a great question. I'm a big fan of country music, but I'm like real selective with the country I listen to, because a lot of it is just like goes by and you don't even notice it. It could be any artist or any singer or whatever, and you just don't even know. Like,
sure. So the last question, in their prime, keep this in mind, in their prime, who would win in a bar fight? Lemmy, Ozzy, or Dio?
Lemmy, dude. Lemmy.
Yeah.
Lemmy. Have you ever seen Lemmy? I mean, Lemmy's like 7 feet tall, man. Like,
now I will also counter it with coked out Ozzy.
I mean, yes, fair there. Well, Dio might have some kind of weird. Dio might like call Thor's hammer down on you, or like you don't even know what he's got going on, right? Like,
yeah, Dio's a fucking metal wizard.
But I think if you take supernatural powers and cocaine out of the mix, I think Lemmy's got it. Like,
I appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Yeah, man. Thanks
where can people find and listen to your music, and and also plug your socials?
Yeah, my socials. Oh God, I don't even know what my own social handles are, man. You're killing me right now. That's how out of touch I am. So I mean, you can find us on Spotify, right? Witch Hunter. We're on Instagram, witch_hunter 256. We're on Facebook, Witch Hunter. We're on any streaming platform you can imagine, right? We're on every, Apple Music, Google, Spotify, all that stuff. I also have a solo EP that I put out not too long ago. It was just some stuff I had laying around, that I kind of wrapped up and put out. That's just under my name, Devin Islami Williams, on Spotify. So you can, find all that stuff. Yeah.
And listen to it. Witch Hunter is phenomenal. Seth has an amazing voice.
Dude, we could have spent the whole podcast just talking about Seth's vocals. Like Seth's
I would love to do another
crazy
episode.
vocalist.
If we don't do a live episode with everybody, definitely need to get Seth on for an episode.
Oh,
that
yeah,
would be
absolutely.
that would be great. So
He's
appreciate
an incredible
everybody.
singer, man.
Oh God, yeah. Whenever we played
Yeah.
that show, I was like, that is insane. Yeah, you guys are need way more attention than what y'all get for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I
So-
appreciate that.
Appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode.